Just look at that VR, man. This is crazy. Or should I take this car? Oh, shoot. Watch out, lady.
We have an 0211 in Westbrook. Any units in the area?
Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are checking out Cyberpunk 2077 in VR. So if you guys might have seen this already online, but today I'm going to be looking at it using a 5090. I am recording along with gaming on the same PC. Just, stress testing this 5090 more and more, see what more I can do. A little bit about my PC real quick and the mod. I'm running a 5090 Founders Edition, 7950X 3D, 64 gigs of RAM, running everything on an NVMe. A little about the mod. This is a mod from Luke Ross, the Real VR mod. It's a plugin for a lot of different VR games. Look at that, it's just beautiful. And Cyberpunk is probably one of the more popular uses for this mod, just because it's Cyberpunk and it's crazy what VR can do in terms of immersion. So we're going to talk a little bit about the positives and negatives of this mod, and a little bit more about the future, what I'm going to be doing with this mod, and just who's it for, what it takes, and everything. So let's get on this bike real quick. Just look how beautiful that looks. Sorry, I have to look down. Sorry if the mic is not loud enough, but yeah, I've been spending out all day like tweaking this thing. Number one, this mod does require a beefy PC. I would say a 30 series and up. A graphics card. What can I get on this thing? What happened? There we go. See, now we're going to be in this motorcycle. High level of immersion. I can even go third person if I want. Boom. What was I going to say? Yeah, you do need a beefy PC to run this. It does require a lot of patience and tweaking this mod. There's a lot of different settings and factors you got to take in consideration and edit. You got to edit the Meta PC app. That one I'm running max resolution at 80 frames a second. I did notice that when I do run it at 120, it does not run well at all, even though it doesn't hit 120, just that selection. I think it's a bandwidth issue. I've even tried adjusting the debugging tool where I lower the bit rate down to 500 or less. I'm running 960 bit rate, so that's kind of the max you can do with the debug tool. So 960, I have at 1.7 times super sampling, and a couple other settings I'll have on the screen. I'll take a screenshot of it, and the Meta PC app. So those two things already you have to adjust, and let me show you guys real quick. The mod itself has its own graphical or setup menu. I kept everything default. For the VR renderer, I was adjusting between auto and OpenXR. Some places they both perform better than the other, just depends. The render mode half rate, that seems like the best spot, and everything else has been so far going back to default. And the target pixels per degree, depending on which VR renderer I use, is what I'll adjust. But yeah, like I said, the biggest thing you're gonna do is using these three configuration screens. In terms of the actual in-game settings, so the mod overrides all your graphical settings. You can still adjust them, but these are the ones that are going to get it to work. It doesn't work with VSync, doesn't work with ray tracing. Don't even try. It performs horribly. It even looks bad. It's just too much on the PC and the GPU. It's a lot going on. And because it's not a native VR setup, it's just a mod. And there's only so much you can do unless it's native and you have actual resources and you work with the team at CD Projekt Red, blah blah blah. It does run with DLSS balance. That's what it has. I've adjusted here and there, but so far balance seems to be the best. Everything else I kept it the way it's supposed to be at low. If you start messing with these, it starts having the game perform a lot less, like much worse. Ideally, I think the 80 frames a second. I don't know if you guys can see. I thought you can see on my screen. Right now, I'm like 69 to 80 frames, depending. Depending on the area, depending on the time of day. Like, obviously, it's a very congested spot. Oh, there's a glitch right there. Like when I get out of the motorcycle, obviously, it's a lot smoother. It's not fast paced. Right now I'm at a steady 80, drops down to 77. And this was the 5090 and recording and everything on the same PC. If I wasn't recording, I might be getting a little bit better performance. I could move my head around or use the gamepad. So that's another thing with this mod. You can only use a gamepad. You can't use motion controls. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Like I said, with a mod and these modders. Luke Ross is kind of, him and his team. I think he has a team, but there's only so much you can do, and there's complexities and everything. So, I mean, with the gamepad, it's still very enjoyable. And regardless of it not being super maxed out in terms of ray tracing and everything, let's take this car. I like it. The game is still very immersive and very enjoyable, and a whole different experience than a flat screen. Whoa. See, like right now it's still beautiful in my view. It might not look as good for you guys. There are some graphical glitches here and there, but it still looks so beautiful for VR. It gives you an idea of what the future can hold, and I really hope these developers in the future start, taking consideration VR, because it's not a small niche. There's a lot of people who are using this mod and getting into VR for these type of experiences, and I feel like it's kind of downplayed. And I really hope stuff like this showcases look how beautiful just being in the center and looking at all these buildings and lights and NPCs and cars, and it's still performing very well. Imagine if it was native. I'm gonna keep saying that. Imagine if it was native. So I mean, the gamepad is, like I said, kind of a downside, but it's not too bad. Another thing is when you're taking out your gun, okay, you are going to be aiming with your head. So you see the cursor that's moving the head, and when I aim down sight, I move with my head. I aim with the gun. I have to close my left eye. I can adjust that in the mod settings where I can make it left or right. My dominant eye is right, so when I aim, I have to close my left eye and shoot. So if you want to actually shoot, now we're gonna have everyone on us. Get in, bro. So it does require a lot of tinkering and seeing the best possible experience for you. There's a lot of different settings you can adjust for this thing, but for the most part, this is what it seems like. It seems to be the best to play with. Like I said, it may not be the way to play Cyberpunk all the time. Maybe you have a file that's only for VR. Maybe you jump back and forth. Maybe, like me, you download a save file off of Nexus Mod and you just use, whoa. Okay, I crashed. Yeah, so playing this game, you can play it in VR, flat, whatever, hop back and forth, have a save file, turn off the VR mod, turn it back on whenever you want. I definitely think it's a very playable experience. It's very fun. It does take some getting used to, a lot of tinkering, a lot of setting up. But once you get the hang of it, you kind of know what to look for in terms of settings, and you know what your PC can handle, what it can't. And for the most part, there's only so much you can do until we get this, these type of experiences more natively supported, excuse me. And just have fun with it. I'm gonna be doing some more videos in the future, near future, where I'm gonna be adding a lot of other mods to let's see where we can take this graphically. We may not max out the resolution and frames, but can we get the photorealistic mods set up with this on a 5090 and what it takes. I mean, if you're able to get the photorealistic, even though this is not fully maxed out, I mean, it would definitely enhance the visual experience and the immersion of this. Die, bro, you gotta die. But I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. I kind of just wanted to go over that, kind of give you guys a rundown of how this mod is, how it runs on a 5090. It runs phenomenally. I'm pretty sure if you have a 4050 series, maybe a higher end 30 series, you should be perfectly fine running this. But again, you have to tinker with it. I highly recommend everyone check out Luke Ross and his VR mod. Like I said, this thing, I'm able to get it from 60 to 80 frames a second, depending on how intense the areas are. I'm about to die. But yeah, I'll leave it at that, guys. Take care, stay in VR, and peace.